So today I wanted to give everyone some insight into how we build new features using Cursor in our backend application. To begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a PRD document, and that document is going to help me to flesh out my thinking around this application, and it's going to help me to set us up to build very quickly and to build very autonomously, because we're going to think about everything along with the model up front. So let's just crack into it and see how we get on. I'd like to build a new feature into our application. This application is a back-end system that helps us build our audit and due diligence service for VCs. We currently have an audit page that helps us to build up the information that we're gathering from a target. On that audit page, we can link files to different sections of the report, and those files are either notes from our CTOs or they are transcripts of particular calls. And what I want to do is I want to be able to take the linked files and send them to one of the AI providers, along with all of the questions for a particular section or area, and then receive back some responses that basically tell us what the answers are that are contained in those files for the questions that we've sent. We're going to need to build the front end for this. We're going to need to build the back end for it. We're going to need to think about the UX and interaction mechanisms. We already have the ability to call AI providers in the code somewhere. I want you to take a look in the top level docs folder, and specifically in the plans folder, where you'll find a number of example plans that we have done in the past. And I want to use these as the basis for building out a plan for building this feature. We're then going to iterate through building this feature together until we have a good plan, and only then will we start generating any code or making any changes. Can you come up with that plan as a first step, and then let's iterate through it together. So here what I'm doing is I'm using Whisper Flow to be able to output a lot of thoughts and text, and then we get started, and we're using Sonnet 4. I'm also giving it some hints on different things that we want to do, like UX and interaction mechanisms, the front end, the back end. And so I'm not just letting it kind of go wild. I am letting it understand the whole code base itself rather than pointing it to too many different things. So now it started creating the feature in a markdown file. And once it's done that, we're going to analyze what its first shot is. Sometimes that means that I'll be changing phases around. I'll be changing around some of the assumptions that it's making. I'll be removing some features that I don't like and adding in features that I think that we should have in there. But it's a good first shot, usually, to see what it comes up with. Okay, so we have our first shot at this, and it is interesting. So I know for a fact that we already have the ability to do this. So we're going to have to make some changes automatically to this. Okay, so I spent a few minutes reading through this, but I didn't record it just because of time. However, this feels like a pretty reasonable plan that is come up with. It's followed the phased approach that I like and the ability to tick things off that I like. I do have a couple of questions about it though, which I'm going to push back on. One of them is, do we really need like a big data model here for this? Could we simplify it? Now, I think we probably do want to keep a data model, but I also just want to push back a little bit and see whether the challenge results in some interesting conversation. I also want to simplify things a little bit. There is some conversation in here around the use of PDF and other file types. And I want to understand how big a challenge that's going to be, because that might be a little bit too much for right now. So let's do that. Let's see. We're going to accept this broadly for right now, though. This looks really good. However, I have a couple of questions and challenges for this. First of all, do you think that we really need an actual data model for this, or is it more that we could get away with doing something synchronous when calling the models and doing something synchronous in the browser? I'm open to push back on that. Let's have a conversation about the pros and cons of it. The second thing I wanted to talk about is that I noticed that you've included multiple different file formats in there. For example, docs, PDF, etc. And I was wondering how much work you think that's going to be to support all of those different file formats. Might it be better that we do an initial run through of this plan with just Google Docs formats, and then we can add PDF afterwards so that we can get an initial working prototype going and focus on the UX and how we would use it? I definitely want to have PDF and other format ingestion in the future, but I'm worried that we're going to get a little bit lost whenever we try to implement it. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to use Cursor and Claude as really a pair programmer, as something that I can push back on, and they can push back on me, and that way we can get the best outcome. So database model versus synchronous approach. Let's see. So simpler implementation, but no audit trail, no retries, no analysis history. I'm not sure that I care about a lot of these things for right now. So we get obviously the inverse there. So there's database changes, there's tape management. Yep, okay. So we can validate, simple debugging, lower risk. Yeah, so do we want analysis history is the question here. And I'm not sure that we do for right now. So yeah, I think that that's a good change. Okay, and so then file format, absolutely right. Starting with Google Docs is smarter. I do like it whenever it tells me that I'm right. Already integrated. Okay, so simple UI, simplified architecture. Yes, I like the simplified option on both here. So let's go ahead and make those changes to the plan. I would like to note that we want to bring in some of these more advanced features in the future. So maybe let's put a couple of phases at the end for implementing those advanced features. Okay, and so then these are the updates to this file. There's a lot of changes. So I just will accept and then reread to make sure that I'm comfortable with it as a plan. So I'm a bit confused about how it has done this, particularly around the phase one. So I'm going to ask. I don't quite understand your phase one here. The way that I was thinking about this was that the front end would tell the back end that we want to do some analysis on a particular set of files for a particular set of questions, and then that back end would go and make the request to Google Drive and pull the information from those files and send it over to AI to be analyzed. I don't fully understand your phase one here, and the reason I don't understand it is because I don't see why we need this content service. We already pull information from Google Docs and show it. You may want to go and look at the coaching area to see that fully, but I'm not sure that we need a completely new service for this. So this is me pushing back because I understand how the system works, and I think that's a really important aspect of things. So we're reducing down the amount of complexity that it's giving us. So that's going to fix that, I think. We can accept all of that. And it's making changes to our AI analysis as well. And then we're looking at some roots, do file analysis. So there's some file analysis prompt stuff here. What I want to do is I know that we have prompts for other things, so I just want to make sure that we're aligned with that. For your phase 3, you've got a file analysis prompts file. I just want to make sure that this is aligned with how we're doing prompting in other places. So we're doing some prompting around the audit and generating the section notes and area notes. So can you confirm for me that you're aligning how you want to do the file analysis prompts with how we're doing those prompts as well? So that'll go off and do a little bit of work whilst we check everything else. I have a question about this content processing as well. Specifically, I don't understand why it's there whenever we are potentially doing it further up in phase 1 as well. So we can ask that. Okay, now it's going to update the plan, so that's good. I have a question about the content processing that you're doing in phase 3 as well. Are we not doing content processing in phase 1, and how does that overlap? Okay, we're going to accept that. We'll go and double check that. So following the existing pattern. Don't necessarily know if we want this in this file, but we'll deal with that in a second. And then analysis modal. Yep, I definitely will want this to be a modal. Yeah, so it's taken out that phase one, made some changes. I'm pretty happy about that because, yeah, we're definitely going to want to do content processing further down. Yep. See what it says. Yeah, so it's splitting the layers better now, which is good. We can just get that. Okay, front end, a little modal, file analysis results, that's good. Analyze with AI button next to the file list. Oof, I don't know if that's what I want. I'm not sure it's got the UI completely the way that I would want it to be either. But rather than go too specific on this is exactly how I want it to be, instead probably what I'll do is say that this is good enough, and then I will start implementing things because the structure feels okay. And then once we're in there, I will do more kind of evolution of the thinking here. So that is essentially coming up with a plan, not particularly overthinking it, but also not letting it just do whatever it feels like. And the next video, we will start implementing phase one.